Hi everyone. I'm home today with my daughter who seems to be sick with a cold or the flu. So I am going to just give you a little video overview of what you're going to do in class today. The rest of the hour will be work time. The final draft of your essay is due on Thursday. You can turn it in or submit it on Schoology anytime before class on Thursday or up until class on Thursday. And when you get to class, you could submit it as well. So just know that when you submit the essay, I will assume that you are done with your essay and you're ready for it to be graded. This is the scoring guide that I use for each of the categories of your essay. So I'll grade your essay on things like ideas, organization, and conventions. The maximum points you could get is 8. And you can see from the descriptions here that each number kind of explains where I think you are with developing that trait. So if you get an 8 out of 8 in a category like organization, that means that you are really showing understanding of how to organize your essay, and there's a lot of strengths. If when I read your essay, it's pretty well organized, but there's a couple things that are missing or out of order, then you might end up with a 7 or a 6 if the need for revision is about equal to the strengths. Now, if there's a lot of need for revision with that trait, organization, or ideas, you'll probably end up with a 5. And if you're showing that you really haven't done much, you're not showing understanding of the concept or the trait, you'll end up with a 4. Very rare for a student to get a 4 unless we're talking about conventions. You're going to want to be very careful and proofread your essay to make sure that you've capitalized your sentences and your proper nouns, that you've avoided run-ons and fragments and spelling errors, because that's where you can really lose a lot of points quickly if you don't take time to proofread your essay. So what we have today is a guided editing process. And I want you to go through each slide today and complete each step in your essay. Now, if I were there, I would be leading you through the slides and timing you. Instead, I'm going to have you go through the slides at your own pace. This slideshow can be found in Schoology, on Schoology, in the unit links and texts folder. I will title it self-edit, and you can find it and go through this. So for each slide, and by the way, you need to be done with this by the end of the hour. So you're going to want to budget your time and look at the clock. I'll give you an idea on each slide how long it should take you so you can kind of time yourself. So for this first slide, you're going to be looking at your introduction. I think looking at your introduction, the things that you're going to want to pay attention to is, do you have 2 sides of information for background information? So in this example here, we say students value the freedom of choosing what they wear to school. That's one side of the argument for school uniforms. But there are many administrators and parents who argue that school uniforms would help solve many school problems. That's the other side of school uniforms. You want to make sure your background information gives one argument on each side of the issue. Okay, after the introduction, you're going to look at your thesis, make sure that it's strong. Then you're going to look at your claims. You are going to be highlighting your CERs. So every word in the paragraph will be highlighted. It will be the same colors as the colors on the outline you completed for me. So your claims will be bright yellow. Your evidence will be bright green. And your reasoning will be bright blue. So just to go back real quickly to evidence, your evidence has to be a passage copied word for word from an article and have quotation marks around it. But you also probably need to give a little bit of context to the reader. Don't just drop the quote in right after the claim. In my example here, I give just a little bit of background information about who is talking so the reader isn't confused. So as Victor Martel explains in the Rhode Island College Anchor, self-expression is important. We do not want to be robots. We all want to be ourselves and be a little different from each other. Just one sentence about whatever is in your quote here, whether it's a person who's talking or a study that you're referencing, make sure that you give a little background information to your reader. After the quote, you have to include an in-text citation. That is simply a quotation, or a parentheses with the author's last name, close the parentheses and put a period afterwards. Another way to do this is to, in this introductory sentence, list the author's name, first and last, and the title of the article as part of your transition. So that's another way to get away the in-text citation. For reasoning, you should spend the most amount of time on this one. I would say 10 minutes, 5 minutes per paragraph that you wrote. Does your reasoning explain how the evidence supports the claim? Does it include additional examples? The first thing your reasoning should do is explain the evidence. Make sure you cover all parts of the evidence. Then you might include additional examples. Go ahead and read through my red example here when you're doing this and see how I used it. This piece of reasoning builds off the evidence from the slide before. After that, you're going to look at transitions. I've listed all around the room, there are pieces of paper with transitional phrases. The first area says main ideas. Those are your claims. So you could use any of those transitional words or phrases to transition into your claims. Then there are transitional phrases for moving into evidence and into your reasoning, as well as for conclusions and for the opposite side of the argument, which you might use in your introductory paragraph. So in your essay, I expect to see 2 transitional words in each CER paragraph. That's number 4 here. And then 1 transition moving into your conclusion and 1 transition into your introduction. Highlight your transitions this bright pink or purple color. Look at your title. Conventions, depending on time, you might want to do this at home, but reading the essay out loud is non-negotiable. That is important so that you can hear when things don't sound right and fix it. You can read softly to yourself or even sit in the hall to read and then come back in. You're also looking for things like proper capitalization. The beginning of every sentence is capitalized, so are proper nouns. I don't want to see run-ons or fragments. You should know how to fix those. If you have any misspelled words, there should not be those little red squiggly lines that appear. Know the difference between there, and there, and use those words correctly. To, and who and whom. Works cited, you can copy the MLA citation right from the bottom of the article on SIRS. If you use an article that wasn't on SIRS, use the website easybib.com to help you. Copy and paste those citations right under the title Works Cited. Make sure that they are in alphabetical order by the first word in the citation. Format your paper correctly as well. This is the big one. No extra space between paragraphs. The way that you indicate you're starting a new paragraph is to indent each paragraph by hitting the tab key once. Your homework is to finish your final draft for next class and submit it on Schoology. While you are working on this independently, it should be fairly quiet in class today. You're focusing on your document, getting your work done, so you have less to do at home. If you need to ask a question of someone at your table, it should be in a whisper, and then you should go back to your work. Good luck. I hope you get a lot done today. I look forward to reading your essays.